Toshihiro Kondo, the mighty, supreme overlord god of Nihon Falcom. With a mere whisper, he is able to bring into the very ether and fabric of reality peak fiction. But he was not always this god of art. He was originally a mere mortal man, a mere peasant who looked up at the upper echelons, the Olympus that was Nihon Falcom. How did he get there from where he started out as a mere peasant? That is what we are here to talk about today. But before we continue on, allow me to get into something a little more comfortable. That's better. Toshihiro Kondo was born on January 14th, 1975 in Toyota, Aichi Prefecture. Now this is super important because his particular date of birth would put him on an interesting trajectory in developing the skills and tools at the exact right time and the right place for his ascension to godhood. Kondo was essentially born at a time period where he was able to watch video games sort of grow and develop from an extremely early caveman banging rocks together primitive state to it developing into more of what we would consider the classical era of video games in the late 80s and 90s. His first experience with video games would be at an old arcade on the way back from his swimming lessons when he was around 7 or 8. There he would play Space Invaders, but this boy was a mere peasant, so he was broke as fuck and didn't have any money, and his parents didn't give him any money to play. So he would wait outside of the venue and waiting for somebody to not finish their game of Space Invaders so that he could take over and play from where they left off. Dedication, passion, the makings of a god. Despite the peasant's desire and craving for video games, his parents were also mere peasants and strictly controlled his video game addiction. For one thing, they didn't actually buy him a console when he was super young. In fact, his first console would only come a few years down the road when his family ended up moving to Bangkok, Thailand. Yes, the capital city with the funny name. Almost as funny as me asking you to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and commenting down below what you think about the supreme god, Toshihiro Kondo. Thailand in general is an extremely important place in terms of its influence on Kondo and the entirety of the franchises he would work on, like Trails in the Sky, for example. The Liberal Kingdom was heavily influenced by his experiences in Thailand in terms of how Kondo wrote its geopolitics and certain aspects of its government. But that's neither here nor there. We're getting ahead of ourselves because our man is still a fucking peasant bum. While he had acquired a console, he still didn't have the means to procure video games of his own, so he had to ask his aunt to import them from Japan, as the actual retail price for those very same games in Thailand was about almost double what they were in Japan. This time, however, was also extremely momentous, as it would be the time period that he was first exposed to Nihon Falcom, particularly the Ys series, which was popping off at the time. Around when he was 14 or 15ish, he would get first-hand experience with Ys 3 Wanderers from Ys. He didn't get that far into it because the game beat his fucking ass. So the reputation of Ys 3, or in the modern age, not caveman age, Ys the Oath in Falgahana, as being tough as fucking balls, persists to this fucking day. However, this was a highly important ass whooping that needed to happen. It was a canon event, if you will, because this would introduce Kondo to Nihon Falcom and eventually lead to him being noticed by the gods. During college, Kondo would get really into the Legend of Heroes, Gagharv, whatever the fuck, that fucking trilogy that predates Trails in the Sky. He would get into that one. right? And he would create a fan site called the Saga of Terrace Wheel that would become extremely popular on JP's side and become sort of a hub for fans of Nihon Falcom games, but especially the Legend of Hero game. And this would get him noticed by the gods. In fact, it was so popular that he ended up in direct correspondence with Nihon Falcom itself, with them receiving letters from him where they responded, "Look at this cocky peasant, this mere mortal, thinking he can give us orders. Let's talk to this guy." After college, Kondo would apply for a job at Nihon Falcom in its finance division, where he would discover that they were already aware of his existence, his presence. They had been watching him. Their ninjas and spies were stationed everywhere, and they found his web design abilities to be most favorable. Remember what I mentioned earlier in this video about Kondo being born at a very, very important time frame and him having skills that were extremely important? This was happening around 1998, around the same time frame as the dot-com bubble, where things and websites and the online space was really starting to blow up financially and becoming more important. So he had the exact correct right skills that the gods themselves noticed him. They reached down their gigantic hands and plucked mere Kondo boy and ascended him to godhood, and he would rise up as a mere lesser god, as a web designer for them. Kondo did his job of making websites very well. However, he needed to actually play the games in order to understand what he needed to put on the website. So this would lead to him having a working relationship with the game designers and writers of the games, and he would eventually grow closer and closer to that division, helping writing and designing the games themselves. In fact, it got to a point where he basically was doing two jobs. He was basically designing and writing and making the websites at the same time. His talents would be recognized by that era's current supreme god, and he would be elevated to a higher ranking status, a high ranking god amongst gods, supervising the development of more peak fiction and more awesome games. And eventually, when the supreme god of old decided to retire, he would have Kondo step forth and ascend to the thrones of the highest peaks of Nihon Falcom, where he would sit on the throne as the now supreme god of Falcom. But yeah, I think the main thing to take away from this story is to never underestimate passion and love for something, and never fucking hold yourself back. Shoot your fucking shot at whatever the hell you want to do and pursue your passion. A big giant through line in Toshihiro Kondo's life story is essentially that he had his interests and he never fucking backed away from them. He never hid from them. He pursued them with a vigor, despite, for example, his parents' reluctantness to actually get him things like consoles or to let him play games for very long. But yeah, that is the fucking story of the supreme god, Toshihiro Kondo. If you liked the video, once again, like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you in the next one.